This is going to be a camouflage soap. I have made camo soaps in the past, and some of them I've kind of liked, but I've decided to try one without really any swirling of the pattern once it's poured. I'll get the pattern simply by pouring it in lines and splotches and droplets here and there of various colors. And the last time I made some camo soap, I did it that way and was quite pleased with the way it turned out. So I'm hopeful here as well.
Here's the recipe I'm using. It's fairly wet, as I often soap with, so no water discount. And then using castor oil, coconut oil, lard, high oleic sunflower oil, beef tallow, and some olive oil. So that should make a reasonably hard but also fairly slow moving soap. And then as additives, I'm using some sugar for more sudsiness, sodium lactate to make it a little harder, and then also green Irish fragrance from Nature's Garden, which is a nice masculine scent. I'm using 6 colors in this soap. All of the micas are from Nurture Soap except for the Rainforest Green, which is from Elements Bath and Body. Using about a teaspoon total mica per color. So in the case of the Celadon and Rainforest, there's half a teaspoon of each, otherwise there's a full teaspoon in each one. And then for the instant coffee at the bottom, probably a little less than a quarter of a teaspoon. I didn't really want brown there. I wanted just a dark beige or a very light tan, which I think is what it actually did. I have my oils at just under 90 degrees Fahrenheit and my lye water just above 90. This should, I hope, be a fairly slow moving recipe anyway. So I'm going to blend them here. As I usually do, I have the stick blender just in some warm water. I don't know if that was visible to the camera, but that gave a little bit of false trace, but it's gone back to really water thin right now. I'm using less black than the other colors, so I've got it in a smaller container. This is the instant coffee, just to give a very pale tan. And then the more bright green. This is a mixture of Celadon green and Rainforest Green micas. This is a lustrous brown mica. This is camouflage green. It looks almost kind of golden black right now, but it does cure to a deep olive drab green. And then the last color is a very pale yellowish green, new leaf mica. These micas are all pre-moistened in about 10 to 12 milliliters of water. Use up the rest of this here. Batter's not at all a trace yet. It's still just really, really thin.
stick blend these a little more to really mix them up, but hopefully get them close to trace. So I'm going to do them in this order: light green, dark green, camo, brown, and then the tan, and then finally black, so I don't have to rinse my stick blender between colors. I would say these are still not a trace, so I may wait a little while before I pour them. So these are now at a very light trace and nice for pouring. Unlike a soap where I was going to use a particular pattern to swirl, I'm going to more or less randomly pour these, so I don't think it matters at all what order I pour them in. And I'm going to go with kind of just a random striping pattern, not always going the same direction for each color, with the idea of making it look random, kind of like a forest. Once it's poured, I don't plan to swirl this at all. I'm just going to leave it in the exact pattern that it forms naturally from being poured. The last time I made a camo soap, I felt like it had too much black in it, which is why I'm using a smaller volume of black this time. I don't want that to dominate. trying to hold this high enough that it sinks in and carries some of those obvious stripes with it. My black's getting pretty thick at this point. I think I'm going to use it up this time. In fact, I think I'm going to use all of the colors up on this round. The challenge is going to be to not have the top surface look like it's got stripes. Save a little bit of that one. Some more random blobs may be helpful here. I think I'm going to consider that done. Here is the soap after several hours in the oven at 170 degrees Fahrenheit. It's nicely hardened and ready to be cut. It did make a rather rough, dull-looking surface, which will have to be shaved off later. But I like the pattern. I think it turned out well. This is the underside of the soap as it came out of the mold. I just turned it upside down and dumped it and then peeled away the freezer paper. I like that pattern as well. While we were at it, we used pretty much the same recipe and method to make a camo in shades of pink with gray and white. This one is scented with Ceylon black tea fragrance oil from Oregon Soap Supply. I think it turned out pretty well also. And this is the bottom side of that pinks and gray and white slab with the freezer paper freshly peeled away from it. This is the top side of the soaps after they've been cut. I have not shaved anything away from these. I may still do that, but I kind of like the 3D look. And then this is the sides where they were cut vertically with the knife. And then looking on the ends, same situation where they were cut. The one on the far right was actually against the mold wall, so it was not cut. And then these are bottom sides that were against the freezer paper, and I've not changed them in any way. And then of the pink batch, here are the tops. I did shave some of the top off of these, so they're quite flat. And then ends, and then sides,
and then bottoms where they were against the freezer paper. So I kind of like those. I think especially these sides and ends look particularly camouflagey. I like that look. I don't think I like the top as well, but I'm hoping once it either is shaved off or perhaps after it's been used a few times and so it's washed away that more cloudy surface, it'll get to looking more like real camo surface as well. I really like the bottoms of these too. I think that's very nice looking.